Let's grab this microphone here. There we go. Right, let's continue to see what this AWS outage today on the 20th of October 2025 is doing. Well, let's see here. Problem could be related to domain name resolution, but what is that? Obviously, DNS. We don't know the full details of what caused a number of critical Amazon Web Services to fall offline this morning and may not for some time. I assume they may not come back online for some time. Amazon said in one of its updates earlier that the issue appears to be related to DNS. DNS translates a domain name. For example, here we're at bbc.co.uk, but bbc.co.uk is actually an IP address you will have seen in your local household network like 192.168.1.1. Yeah, it does appear that DNS was the issue. If it's isolated to the DynamoDB DNS record for the API, it appears to be that. Whether it's any wider reaching DNS issue that's affecting other services, or if it's just that DynamoDB DNS issue, and because it's downstream of so many other services, and I believe AWS use their DynamoDB internally as well, that it's just having this massive knock-on effect to all these other services, and therefore just so many people. As we've been reporting, many of the world's biggest websites and apps are down due to the outage affecting Amazon Web Services. If you're just joining us, here's a recap of what we know so far. Excellent. So hundreds of websites and apps were knocked offline this morning after an AWS issue in the US, including Snapchat, Roblox, and Lloyds Bank. And we've seen there are multiple other banks and apps affected as well. Down Detector. So if we go over here to Down Detector, we can see this is usually the first result when we're searching for is something up or not. We've even got a banner dedicated to the AWS outage here on Down Detector. User reports indicate that AWS in US1 region, the problems are impacting multiple services that depend on AWS infrastructure. We're monitoring the situation. Check your local Down Detector site for updates. Well done, Down Detector, for being up yourself and not hosted on AWS. We can see here the Down Detector list. So this is user reported issues with these particular applications, sites, etc. And it's a vast list. Microsoft 365 and Outlook. Interesting. Okay. Wasn't expecting to see any services affected in the world of Google or Microsoft. I kind of expected them to be reliant on their own infrastructure. So is that related to the AWS outage? I mean, it looks like it may be. It may be some related service relies on something AWS downstream, which is kind of crazy to me. Microsoft Teams as well. Excellent. Teams is offline. I think we've seen that Slack is offline, WhatsApp's offline. It's going to be a good day for professionals trying to collaborate, I'll tell you that much, especially with so many people working remotely. What else have we got here? Lots of phone providers, lots of mobile game apps. We've got the Xbox network down as well. Crazy. Okay, so we've seen then the PlayStation network, the Xbox network, and Steam have been impacted by this outage. Steam, I would expect. Xbox, again, Microsoft being reliant on an AWS service who are a competitor to their Azure cloud service is a bit, it's not concerning, but it's interesting for me to see that. Maybe there's something I've missed in the past where Microsoft are reliant on those services. We got here obviously Instagram and Facebook, Meta in general, Ring doorbells, Reddit. What are the Reddit mods out doing today? What are they? They can't play Roblox and they can't moderate their Reddit feeds. What are people going to be doing this morning? Now, obviously, we have seen on the AWS page that they believe... Oh, hang on. We've got some more updates here on the service health, which we'll look at in a minute. We have seen that some of the services are meant to be coming back online. I'm certainly able to use Signal and WhatsApp now. Most of what I'm using is working. Slack seems to be working, or I certainly received messages. I don't know if there's any missing or anything that hasn't come through yet. We see here that significant signs of recovery at 10:30 BST, which was a couple of hours ago now. And while it is true for many platforms, some still appear to be experiencing problems or fresh issues in the case of Reddit. So this is something that DevOps engineers, software engineers are familiar with, is that when there is an issue of this significance taking down entire applications and people are running to debug that issue, to resolve that issue, you may end up causing more issues than you resolve because you're making changes, pointing to new databases that maybe don't have the up-to-date data. Maybe you misdiagnosed the issue, you didn't hear about the AWS outage and you've made changes elsewhere, and then things start to come back online and you realize that you've actually caused more issues by trying to fix the issue initially, especially if you're not following a good incident management process, which is really important in times like these. And really having good disaster recovery, making sure that your services are resilient and not reliant on an individual service, an individual region, or even an individual cloud provider. Let's have a look here at the latest updates. Lloyd's banking service, this just in. LBG, which includes Halifax and the Bank of Scotland, says that they are now coming back online. Good job, Lloyd's. Amazon Web Services, underlying issue fixed, but it's not over yet. In the latest update, Amazon Web Services says it has fixed the issue that caused the problem, and most services should now be working. However, there will still be issues as they bring everything up to speed. So what that sounds like is they basically got a giant queue of requests for the API, and they are processing that queue, which will mean that data will start to propagate and start to update data where it's needed. Now, this could cause more issues in itself. And notice how they say it should now be working properly. We may well find out that it's not working properly and that whatever caused the issue will just come back again. So hopefully they found the root cause and they have fixed it and they are bringing things up to date, but this may not be the end of this issue just yet. Well done, Lloyd's. So let's just jump back over to the service help page here. And so we've got these updates here. Based on our investigation, the issue appears to be related to DNS of the DynamoDB API in US East 1. Parallel paths to accelerate recovery. So they've got all hands on deck working on this issue. Unsurprisingly, this could potentially cost them hundreds of millions in refunds, in damages to their reputational damage, people migrating off over to Azure, the second largest cloud provider, SLAs being breached. It's going to be some hefty dollarage. The issue also affects other AWS services in the US East 1 region, global services, or features that rely on US East 1. So yeah, this is something that we see in AWS is the concept of regional services, and those regions are vast, they're across the world. However, there are global services, and those global services often rely on US East 1 to run. So if you're using global Dynamo tables, as it suggested in an earlier message, they are affected, and they could be used by people who are primarily in a different region. However, that dependency will have caused you issues today. Let's read these updates here. So the underlying DNS issue has been fully mitigated, and most of AWS service operations are succeeding normally now. Some requests may be throttled while we work towards a full resolution. So it sounds like they don't want to overload everything with the surge of requests that would be queued up. That's smart. It's good to let things trickle in while they check their remediation has worked properly and not to overload the service and cause more issues down the line. Some requests may be throttled, yeah. Additionally, some services are continuing to work through a backlog of events such as CloudTrail and Lambda. So CloudTrail is the audit service for AWS that logs everything that people have been doing. It's incredibly important for regulated industries to be able to see what people do within their cloud. Let's hope that there's no data loss there, because again, that could be a big issue if a otherwise immutable audit log has data missing. And Lambda is AWS's serverless architecture. Yeah, obviously that's been affected in some way as well. While most operations are recovered, requests to launch new EC2 instances, so EC2 instances being servers, being the primary offering of AWS, just raw hosted servers, or services that launch EC2 instances such as ECS, which is their container service, which sits on the back of EC2, in the US East 1 region are still experiencing increased error rates. They will continue to work towards a full resolution. If you are still experiencing an issue resolving the DynamoDB service endpoints in US East 1, we recommend flushing your DNS caches. So DNS is heavily cached throughout your browser, your server, your application. There, it's used for, we cache these name to IP address resolutions for performance. However, if it's being cached and now it's all changed, it may be that clearing your cache is what you need to do should it be resolved as they say it is. They will provide an update by 4:15 a.m. That update is, we are continuing to work towards a full recovery of EC2 launch errors, which may manifest as insufficient capacity error, which isn't great. Insufficient capacity error, that's crazy. Okay. Additionally, we continue to work towards a mitigation for elevated polling delays for Lambda. Okay, so much of the internet is backed in some way by a Lambda API. This is another reason why it's so wide-reaching. Specifically for Lambda event source mappings for SQS, we'll provide an update by 5 PDT. What I think I'm seeing here is that any Lambda jobs that are processing queues are being delayed. This may be because AWS themselves have taken that compute for themselves to process the queues of DynamoDB API requests. That's not necessarily any evidence for that. That's just me speculating. Let's pop over back to the BBC. Reddit facing problems as other services recover. As many sites appear to be recovering from the Amazon Web Services issue, Reddit is curiously seeing a spike in reports of problems from users. Well, let's have a looky. Let's see if we can load Reddit, the heart of the internet. Seems to be working here. I'm not seeing any AWS down threads. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Okay, so it seems to be working for me. That's anecdotal. And I'm in the UK, so who knows? Let's see what other news outlets are saying. All right, let's have a look at CNN. Amazon Internet Services outage shows significant signs of recovery. AWS issue has been fully mitigated. Interesting choice of words there, fully mitigated. So they've 100% reduced the impact of this issue. It has not been resolved. There is going to be fallout for this. I said days earlier, I think likely weeks. A lot of overtime for sysadmins and DevOps engineers around the world. In the latest statement, AWS says the issue that caused the outage has now been fully mitigated. Yeah, I don't like that wording. All services should now be working as normal, it added, but some requests may be throttled. Now, we need to realize that all services should now be working as normal refers to the AWS services that had the issues. It doesn't mean that the issues with all of the services we use as consumers of websites and applications and banks are resolved. Some results, yeah, we've seen that they'll be throttled. I'm going to leave it there again. Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see the reaction and the response from these industries to how they are going to be planning for outages like this in the future, because it's always when these outages happen that we see people mass migrating from cloud providers. We see them really doubling down on that resilience and DR and business impact, implementing these. So it could be a good time to be a DevOps consultant or a software engineer as people slightly shift their attention towards incident management, multi-cloud, from that ever looming AI and AI agent way of working. I wonder what the response will be from the AI community and the AI agents and the platforms that we have there towards outages. And if you were using this agent, it would have detected that this issue was here and automatically swapped you over to the cloud provider. Yeah, let's keep an eye on this. I'll keep an eye on the news. If there's anything more relevant coming out, I will make another video. Give this one a thumbs up if you like this style of reporting. Give me a sub if you want to stay in tune with this particular news article. I might have a look again tomorrow to see if we got more information coming out to see what exactly caused the issue, because a DNS issue isn't what caused the issue, it is the issue. So what caused that? I'm very excited to find out. So until next time, stay merge ready.